Good evening, everyone. Good evening and Jai Hind. Welcome to the session. I hope I am properly audible and visible. So, in the last week, we were on a pause on the current affairs session, but we are resuming from today. Good evening. Good evening, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Yes, good evening, everyone. We are resuming the current affair classes from today and even the science related questions which we were having. So, we are going to resume all of that from today itself. In today's session, we are going to discuss these topics. We have got one of the species which was there in the news, Indian star tortoise. It was there in the news, so we are going to discuss this one. Second one thing is one editorial which is there with respect to India and China. So we are going to discuss this editorial also about India and China. Third thing which we are going to discuss is about growth versus emission. So this was also one of the editorial in today's newspaper. So we are going to discuss this one also. Then we are going to talk about one such place which is there in the news, Syria. You know that in the last 1 week, a lot of things has been happening there, and officially on 8th of December, now Syria has fallen into the other hands. Okay. So this place which is there in the news, Syria, which we are also going to see. And again, this is on the basis of an editorial, but there is a World Soil Day which was celebrated last week. But this is one important thing. We are going to see some of the facts with respect to World Soil Day and some relevant thing for our examination. So that is also one thing, World Soil Day, which we are going to see in today's session. Okay. So let's start today's session. First, let's see certain questions also. So there is this one question from May 2024. It is from May 2024. Question is, consider the following statements with respect to LignoSat. It has been launched by European Space Agency. Second thing is, it aims to demonstrate the use of wood as a satellite material. Third is saying, it generates aluminum oxide at the end of lifetime on burning. So three statements are there with respect to LignoSat. Sudharji, I am not aware about this. Why sir is not taking the class, maybe some reasons might be there. So I'm not aware about it. I think there might be some issue. So I have no such idea. You are the one telling me that he is not taking the classes. So how I would be knowing about it? Good evening. I'm quite good and I hope that all of you are doing well. Like we have not met for last 1 week perhaps. So I hope all of you are also doing well. Okay, so there is one answer, that is A option. Okay, option 2 is correct. Anyone else? What will be the answer for this question? Consider the following statement with respect to LignoSat. It has been launched by European Space Agency. It aims to demonstrate the use of wood as a satellite material. B option. Picture quality. Okay, Himanshu, just for this session, bear with this. Yes, I can also see that some blurriness is there. So after the session, I will get it corrected by the team. Okay. So I think one answer is A, the other two options are B. Let's look at this question. It has been launched by European Space Agency. No, this is incorrect. It has been launched by JAXA, Japanese Aerospace Agency. Okay. Japanese Aerospace Agency is the one which has launched this. It aims to demonstrate the use of wood as a satellite material. Yes, it is correct. See, it was there in the news in the month of May also, and even in recently in the month of November also, it was there in the news. Then it generates aluminium oxide? No, it precisely doesn't generate aluminium oxide. In conventional satellites, if we look at the conventional satellites, they have this one problem. The conventional satellites, they are the one which are releasing aluminium oxide. They are the one releasing this aluminium oxide, and this aluminium oxide is harmful for ozone layer. This is the one harmful for ozone layer. This is the one harmful for ozone layer, and that is the challenge. That is the challenge which the Japanese Space Agency is trying to overcome via this wooden satellite. So this third option is also incorrect. First is also incorrect. Answer will be A, that is only one. Okay. Now this second question, consider the following statements with respect to golden rice. First is saying it has been developed to address vitamin A deficiency. It has been developed to address vitamin A deficiency. Its yield is several times better than the conventional hybrids. Third is saying it can be grown in arid regions. So there are three statements with respect to golden rice. Golden rice is a very common topic right now, and you might expect some question about it. So see this question number 2. This is your question number 2. Can you tell me what will be the correct answer? One answer as option A. What about other people? What will be the correct answer here with respect to golden rice? Only 2. Okay. Okay, B option. Only 2. I think maximum people are going for option B. Only 2. See, if we look at this question, let us see one by one. It can be grown in arid regions. Absolutely not correct. It is a rice plant. It cannot be grown in arid regions. This is a GM crop which is intended for one purpose only, that is having carotene in the grains, having beta carotene in the grains. Okay. So it is just for having this beta carotene in the grains. That is the only aim. Now normally you will find that beta carotene is also present in other paddy varieties. Beta carotene is found in other paddy varieties also, but it is not present in the grains which we are consuming. We are not consuming the rest of the part of the paddy plant. We are consuming the grains. And in other traditional paddy varieties or hybrids also, the beta carotene is not present in the grains of these plants. And here the golden rice, it aims, there is a genetic modification through which, through the GM modification, what we see that now the beta carotene has been incorporated in the grains. Why? To address this vitamin A deficiency. Okay. So here the main aim is vitamin A deficiency. It is also called as VAD in short. So it aims to address this vitamin A deficiency. That is the only thing. There is no such significant change in the yield also. There is no such change in its properties. So there is only one change, and that simple change is it will address this vitamin A deficiency concern. Okay. So these second and third are incorrect. First one is correct, only one. Only one is correct in this case. Okay. Now, coming to the third question. The third question is, which of the following is correct with respect to green biohydrogen? The third question is, which of them is correct with respect to green biohydrogen? First is saying, it is produced using electricity. Second is saying, it is produced via electrolysis process. Third is saying, it is produced using microalgae and bacteria. And fourth is saying, it is the most cost efficient hydrogen fuel in present times. So which of them is correct with respect to green biohydrogen? Question number 3. Which of them will be correct? You all have heard about this national green hydrogen policy of India also. We aim to become one of the topmost exporter or a hydrogen based economy by 2030. That we want to be one of the leading exporter of hydrogen fuel by 2030. That is the aim of India. Okay. Is C option, B option and C option. Okay. So see, you might have heard about green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, gray hydrogen, or even black or simply brown hydrogen. But now it is simply called as green biohydrogen. So this green biohydrogen is not simply your green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is the one which is produced using the electrolysis of water from renewable sources. So when we are talking about green hydrogen, when we talk about this green hydrogen, it is obtained via the process of electrolysis, and here what you will find that renewable sources of energy. Renewables are being used for production of green hydrogen. But when we talk about the green biohydrogen, when we talk about this green biohydrogen, here there is no such concept like electrolysis. Here it is done via this biological processes. It is done via biological processes. And here you will find that there is involvement of microalgae, involving microalgae and bacteria. Okay. So see, this green biohydrogen is different from green hydrogen. Last year in the month of May itself, in the month of April and May, there were some discussions about this, that now moving forward, along with green hydrogen, we should also concentrate on obtaining this green biohydrogen. So that is one thing, like from biogas and all other things, we can obtain this green biohydrogen, which will be done by microalgae or bacteria. So they will be separating the CH4 and other things, like the CH4 and other things which are found as part of the biogas. From there will be like a production of hydrogen. There might be production of some other things also, like carbon monoxide and as well, but mainly hydrogen will be produced. And at the same time, it is not that much cost efficient. It is not cost efficient. In comparison to green hydrogen also, its efficiency is lower because there is no such technological development as of now. Okay. So that's why this one term is there in the news. Okay. So here the answer will be C option. It is produced using microalgae and bacteria. But do keep one thing in the mind. Right now, it is not the most cost efficient. This will be wrong. It will be not the most cost efficient as of now. The most cost efficient is even now gray hydrogen, because you have to simply burn petroleum and you get the hydrogen. And a lot of technologies have been developed for that. So efficiency is higher there. Even if we compare it with green hydrogen, then also the efficiency is less right now in case of biohydrogen. Okay. So these were the 3 questions. Tomorrow again we will see some more questions from the same time. Okay. Okay. Now coming to the next, coming to today's topic. Nagma sir is doing better. He's recovering and he's doing better. Okay. Now, in today's session, we are going to talk about this Indian star tortoise. So this is one thing, this is one tortoise which have been conserved due to effort of various non-governmental organizations as well as governmental organizations. So let's see about this species first, and then we will see the other news articles. Okay. Let's see. If we look at this Indian star tortoise, you can see it looks like this. Okay. And it is found, where it is found mostly in the northwest India, like Pakistan, South India and Sri Lanka. In the northwestern part of India, even the southern part of India, Sri Lanka also, you will find the presence of this Indian star tortoise. Now normally it is endemic to India. It is endemic to the subcontinent. Endemic means it is found only here naturally. Naturally it is endemic to subcontinent. But how is the smuggling happening, or how smuggling has changed its nature? You will find that now it is also seen in Canada and US. This star tortoise is also seen in Canada and US. Not naturally. It has been smuggled through Singapore, China and all other places. It has been smuggled through all these areas to US, Canada and all other. Why it is being smuggled? It is considered to be you all might have heard about that. People have this thing that it's lucky. It's a lucky pet. Okay. So lucky, or means those who believe in those things, some people are wearing stones, some people are having rings, some people are having different things in their houses for bringing luck and everything. So a star tortoise is considered as one of those pets. It is considered as one of the pet animals which brings the luck to the house. So that's why it is being smuggled into various countries. It is being smuggled into various countries for keeping it as a pet animal. Okay. So increasing demand for keeping star tortoise as the pet, that is the main challenge for this Indian star tortoise. Okay. Now, if you look at this, in the IUCN, it is listed as vulnerable. In Wildlife Protection Act, it is mentioned in Schedule 1 and Schedule 4. And in CITES, it is mentioned in Appendix 1. So conservation, it is one of the most conserved animal. It is one of the most conserved animal, or animal with highest level of protection, and yet smuggling of this tortoise is very much high. Okay. So that is Indian star tortoise. Okay. In this you will find that in the Hindu, this article was there. In the Hindu newspaper, you will find this article, and there, in order to identify the different varieties of a star tortoise, a special thing was used which is called as microsatellite markers. Microsatellite markers. You might have seen that recently UPSC has been asking about these terms. Sometimes they're asking what is this microsatellite DNA, or what is DNA fingerprinting and everything. So in same terms, we have this microsatellite markers. What are they? They are basically DNA sequences that repeat in a particular location in the genome. Okay. So they are like DNA sequences which are repeating themselves in the genome structure, And why they are being used? They serve as a genome's fingerprint and helpful to identify how individuals of the same species are related, how they mate, and the recent changes in their population. So suppose if a star tortoise is there, some of its population is there in, let us say, Gujarat, Rajasthan. Some of them are in Maharashtra, some of them are in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, some of them are in Sri Lanka. So what is the difference in their population? If we have to identify that, how they mate, what is the difference in their genome structure? If we have to understand that, then we use the microsatellite markers. Okay. So microsatellite markers are basically DNA sequences that repeat themselves in a genome at a particular location, and they can be used to differentiate between individuals belonging to the same species. So this is why it is there in the news. So this term also and a star tortoise, both are important. Okay. From the prelims perspective, yes, trafficking is very high. Okay. Now coming to one editorial. Okay. Now this is one editorial which was there, this is about a good beginning, but China's negotiations must continue. So this is one article about India-China relations. We are going to see this. Okay. Let's see. In the last 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, a number of things has been happening. If you just read the editorial, if you just go through this editorial which was there, a good beginning, there is no much thing in detail or not something in which you can understand. So let us first try to understand what is the status there, and then we will try to come to understand this editorial once again. So in case of India and China, what is the status on India-China border? Let us first understand that. Okay. This is officially given by the Minister of External Affairs in the Parliament. So this will be the most authentic data which you will have to put in the examination. It is directly from the Ministry of External Affairs website. So this is one thing which you have to put in examinations also. Now see what India is saying, or what Indian government is saying, that China is an illegal occupation of 38,000 square kilometer of Indian territory in Aksai Chin as a result of 1962 conflict and the events that preceded it. Okay. So around 38,000 has been illegal occupation by China in Aksai Chin area. Okay. Second thing is, Pakistan has also illegally ceded 5,180 square kilometer of area of Indian territory to China in 1963. So from Pakistan occupied Kashmir also, Pakistan has ceded area of around 5,180 square kilometer to China. Okay. These are the areas which are officially said that it is an illegal occupation of China. So this is one status of what is there in Ladakh or Jammu and Kashmir region. Now, on the other hand, there is this 2020 incident, Galwan incident. If you look at India and China border, you will find that before 2020, there was joint patrolling by both the forces. There is no such use of weapons in the patrolling. In order to de-escalate, in order to maintain this peace in this area, you will find that the forces which are patrolling near the India-China border, they were not having any such weapons, any such armed weapons like AK-47 or any such weapons. They are not having it. So normally they were patrolling, and in 2020 there was a Galwan incident. In that Galwan incident, there was a scuffle, a fight between Indian and Chinese soldiers, and according to government figure, what we see that 20 Indian and 4 Chinese soldiers died in this hand-to-hand scuffle. That 20 Indian and 4 Chinese, this is according to government figure, that these many people died in that scuffle. Okay. At the same time, what we see that why this happened or what happened after that? After this, there was like gathering of huge number of troops from the Chinese side and later on by Indian side also. Okay. So there was amassing of a large number of troops by China along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh in April-May 2020. Okay. So there was a face-off between India and China which continued for almost 2-3 months, and then gradually things started to come back to normal. So this is one event which happened in India-China relation. Whenever you are now mentioning about India-China relation, this one becomes one of the most important things in the present time. Why? India has said that 2020 incident, after that things cannot go back to the normal as it used to be. India simply said that we cannot have fight on one hand and good relations on other hand. Okay. So here India was very much assertive, very much clear that if there is a scuffle on the border, then all other relations will also come to a halt. So this was one thing said by India. Now, gradually what happened? Now in the present situation, as of Government of India, this engagement has now been achieved full in eastern Ladakh through a step-by-step process, culminating in two very important areas, Deshpang and Demchok. Okay. These were the two such areas. There were 5 friction points. Out of that, the 2 major points were Deshpang and Demchok. Okay. So in this area, now they are saying that this engagement has happened. Okay. Like now we are not having a face-off with Chinese forces in any such sectors or any such line of control area. Okay. Now, the resumption of patrolling to the traditional areas is underway. Okay. So it is not fully operational, but it is underway, means gradually now we are starting the patrolling. Okay. So we are resuming it now, but it's not that it has been completely done. Okay. So this is the official stand from Government of India. Then there are certain challenges. Like if we come back to the editorial, this is the point of government according to the government's response in Parliament. Now, according to the editorial, there are certain concerns. Certain concern like lack of clarity with respect to border issues in multiple areas from east to west. Okay. So, what is the main contention here? It has been said that now there is no official confirmation or denial. There is no official confirmation or denial. Okay. So there is ambiguity here. Many people are saying that we have not returned back to the status quo in 2020. That we are not at the same location as we were in 2020. China may have occupied some more areas. This is one allegation or claim by multiple people, that we have not returned back to the same area as we were in 2020. Second thing is, there are certain reports, only claims that India may have allowed China to patrol in certain areas of Arunachal Pradesh also. Yangtze region is there, Yangtze region in Arunachal Pradesh. So there is a claim that India may have allowed this China to have some patrolling in the Yangtze region of Arunachal Pradesh. So this is one claim by multiple people, that there is no such clarity over it from the government. So this is one thing, lack of clarity. Second thing is, no time-bound resolution process for border conflict. This border conflict between India and China has been going on for more than 60 years. It has crossed more than 60 years now, but there is no resolution. Even if we talk from 1980s also, when the relations started to improve, even after that, there has been no significant discussion over the border conflict. So this is again one thing, that it remains in the same position. We are not having any concrete resolution with respect to China. Third important thing is, this increasing gap between India and China in terms of economy, in terms of geopolitics, in terms of military. You know that the China GDP is much more bigger than India. China's presence in the world is also much more very much higher as compared to India. Their military might is also very much powerful. Okay. So it's true that we are the third largest in terms of military, also in terms of economy also, but the gap between India and China is enormous now. This gap between India and China is becoming enormous now. So that becomes a challenge for us. Okay. That becomes a challenge for us in the upcoming time also. If we are not resolving the conflict, it will become a challenge again and again. Okay. These are some of the major concerns which has been highlighted in the editorial. Then, what can be the way forward? One of the most important thing which we have to do is advanced border management. Like now we will have to focus more on China's border also. We will have to use all sort of technologies, all sort of modern equipments for guarding our northern borders also. For a very long period of time, before 2020, it was a peaceful area. The line of actual control was being followed by both the nations. But then China has its transgression in 2020 and it is doing it at multiple times. So now we need advanced border management in these areas with presence of intelligence network also, with presence of technologies also. So that is one thing. The second thing is we need to become as powerful as China. So there is a need of a strong and export-oriented economy. See, India is also growing, China is also growing. What is the difference? India is trying to grow at the cost of its own demography, at the cost of its own population. Our largest market is not outside. Our largest market is mostly the Indian consumers. Our largest market is mostly the Indian consumers. So if we want to become much more powerful, we will have to outreach to other nations. We will have to export our items to other countries. We will have to improve the quality. We will have to become an export-oriented economy, which will bring more money, more investment, more development to the country. So this is one thing, a strong and export-oriented economy. Third thing is geopolitics and diplomacy. If we have to manage China, this is the best thing. We are at a natural advantage here. We are the largest democracy of the world. We are the largest democracy of the world. And this is a positive part of us. Everyone knows that China is a dictatorship. Everyone knows that China is a dictatorship. And you will find that normally the relations between democracies become better than the relations between an autocratic rule and a democracy. So naturally we have this advantage that we are having this plural democracy. We are also a civilizational state with a plural democracy. So we have two advantages. China is also a civilizational state, but we are a civilizational state plus a modern democracy. So this gives us advantage in terms of geopolitics, in terms of diplomacy. We can connect with many of the like-minded countries and then we can enhance our position. We can make our position much more stronger in our regional area also, in our neighborhood also. These are some of the way forward with respect to India and China. Okay. I hope it is clear. This first part about India and China, I hope it is clear. What is the current situation, the concern and everything? Quantum dots. Okay, I will explain quantum dots. I will have one question on quantum dots tomorrow and then I will explain it. Okay. Is this first part clear about India, China? What is the name of India-China border? What is the name of this India-China border? Can anyone tell me what is the name of this India-China border? No, line of actual control is the present line. But the original border which was there between India and China, what is its name? Yes, it is Manmohan line nahi. It is McMahon line. It is McMahon line. Line of actual control is the present situation in case of India and China in Ladakh region. Okay. So that name is McMahon line. Okay. It is McMahon line which is between India and China. Now, coming to the next topic, growth versus emission. Okay. This is also one of the editorial which was there in the Hindu. Okay. It is about growth versus emission. So here again we will try to understand the context and we will try to see some of the related terms. Okay. So see, what is the context? India's economic survey of 2023-24, the latest one will come right now of 2024-25. Okay, but the India's economic survey 23-24 claims that India has decoupled its economic growth from greenhouse gas emission as between 2005 and 2019. India's GDP grew at a compound annual growth rate of 7%, while emissions rose at 4%. So there was a claim in the Indian Economic Survey, which was released this year only. Now this year is going to be last year. So we are in the last month. But in the January of 2024, in the Economic Survey, it was said that our growth rate in the last 20 years has been on an average 7%. Whereas the emission growth means the emission which is coming from Indian industries or India, it is at 4%. So that's why it was said that we have decoupled economic growth from greenhouse gas emission. Decouple means if it is coupled growth, it means if there is growth, there will be more emission. If there is more growth, there will be more emission. But decoupled means that growth may be higher, but emissions will become lower. So that is called as decoupling of growth with respect to emissions. So what is being said now? Okay. Decoupling refers to breaking the link between economic growth and environmental degradation. That there is no such linkage between the economic growth and environmental degradation. There are two types of this. There are two types of this decoupling. One is called as absolute decoupling. Okay. So it occurs when the economy grows while emission decreases. Here there is an absolute decoupling, which means that the economy is growing but the emissions are decreasing. Second is relative decoupling. When both the GDP and emissions grow, but the rate of GDP growth surpasses the rate of emission growth. Like in case of India, what we see that our emission is growing at 4% annually. The emissions are growing at 4% annually. So it is not decreasing, it is growing. And our GDP is growing at 7% annually. So our GDP growth rate is higher than as compared to this emission rate. So can you tell me what type of decoupling we are going to have? Absolute or relative? Are we having absolute decoupling or relative one? Are we having this absolute decoupling or relative decoupling? Absolute or relative? What type of decoupling we are having? Absolute or relative? Okay. So yes, it is a relative decoupling, because absolute means when the economy grows, emissions decrease. But we see that our emission is also growing at 4% annually, and GDP is at much higher rate. So what we see that in case of India, since 1990, GDP has grown much higher pace than greenhouse gas emission. It means there is a relative decoupling. There is a relative decoupling rather than absolute decoupling. Okay. From 1990s, India's GDP growth has grown sixfold. Okay. If we compare from 1990 also, our GDP has become 6 times higher, whereas the greenhouse emissions have only tripled. It has only tripled, whereas our GDP has become 6 times higher. So what we see that even though we are not having this absolute decoupling, we are having relative decoupling. Now, why this talk? Why we are having this discussion? Recently, there was this emission gap report, and it said that India is having one of the highest increase in emissions. Okay. So there were some charts which were presented. Okay. Some charts which are there, like see, Russia and US, if you look at them, according to per capita emission, they are highest. Russia is there, US is there, China is there. Then we have this G20 nation which are there overall combined. Okay. Then if we look at India, our per capita emission is 2.9 ton. Our per capita emission is 2.9 ton. Whereas in case of US, it is 18. In case of Russia, it is 19. In case of even China, it is 11. Okay. So this is what we are seeing, that other countries which are there, they have higher per capita emission. Okay. But there is a significant trend which you can see here. US is having decline. US is having decline of 1.4% in emission. The European countries, the European Union is also having a decline of 7.5%. So European Union and US, now they are going into that phase of active decoupling or absolute decoupling, where greenhouse gas emissions are going down. Whereas what was highlighted as part of this report, that in India the increase is highest, that is 6.1%. That in 2023 there is 6% increase in emissions by India. Even after that, a few years back in 2021, Indian Prime Minister said there at this Glasgow summit in UK, Indian Prime Minister said that even if our emission is increasing, I can assure you that our emissions are not even going to surpass half of the global emission, half of the global per capita emission. Okay. So our per capita emission is a fraction, or you can say that 1/3 of global per capita emission. If we compare with US or other countries, it is 1/6. So that is what was being said by India, that we are in a developing phase. Yes, we know that our emissions are increasing, but even if it is increasing at 4% or 6%, even then our emissions are going to be much more lower than what is the global per capita emission. So that is one thing which has been said by India. Okay. Now, if we look at this cumulative, means how much emission, those who are lecturing over emissions, the Western developed countries, those who are lecturing us over emissions, let us see their cumulative, means in the last these years from 1850 to 2021, what is their emissions? Canada is having 1751 tons of emission. Okay. US is having 1547. Australia is having 1388. What is the emission of India? 61 million ton. That is the emission of India, 61 million ton. What is their emission? 1751 million tons. So all other countries of UK, Germany, Belgium, New Zealand, Sweden and all, even Sweden, if you compare with Sweden also, Sweden has got an emission of 776. So in the last 170 years, their cumulative carbon emissions per capita has been this much higher as compared to India. So cumulative per capita emission of these countries in the last 150 years, if you compare them with India, India is at a very small level. Compare it. Sweden is considered as one of the environment friendly nations right now. Their per capita emissions from 1850 to 2021, it's 776, a small country. UP is larger than Sweden. Okay. So their per capita emissions is like 776 ton in the last 170 years, and ours is 61 ton. Okay. So we are much behind them in any case. We are much more behind them in any case. And our per capita emissions per year, per capita emission is just around 2.9. So even in the next 20 years, 30 years, or even 50 or 100 years, we are nowhere going to be near them. Even in the next 100 years, we are going to be nowhere near these countries. Okay. So they have historically polluted. If you want to mention this historical responsibility of European countries in pollution, you have this graph, that what is their historical responsibility. Our historical responsibility is this 61 tons per capita in the last 170. There is not even like 10 times, there are like 30 times higher. Okay. I hope it is clear. Now, coming to the next topic, Syria. Yes, Glasgow, COP26. Yes, COP26, correct, Nilu? So that was our other topic about emissions. I have given you that chart. Keep it with you. You will have some good points. Like normally we compare only last of 1 year or 2 year or 3 years. Now this is a data of around 170 years. That gives you like what is the historical responsibility. Now, coming to the next one, place in news, Syria. Okay. So there is another country. There is another country like which has got the impact of major powers having the games in Middle East. So Russia, US, Israel, China, all were playing games in Middle East. Now we have another country which has got the impact of it, Syria. So in Syria, this civil war was going on from the last 14 years, from 2014 itself. Now what we see that, like the Syria's president Bashar al-Assad, okay, his regime has now been toppled. Okay, and the rebel forces, which were mostly having this support of US and others, so they have overrun the capital Damascus, and the erstwhile president, who was President Bashar al-Assad, he has left the country, or he has gone to some unknown location. Okay. So Syria is the another country which has like faced this consequence now, and it seems that now Syria is also going to be largely controlled by US. Okay. Because the rebel groups which are there, they have the active support from US. The president who was there, President Bashar al-Assad, he was having the support from Russia, but Russia is busy in Ukraine war. They were not getting the supplies and all things. So finally what has happened, that they have lost their ground. Now the rebel forces have overrun it. So see, like this is the location what we have to focus on, some important areas. We have to focus on some important areas, like here is one city, Damascus. Then we have this Aleppo. This is the one of the largest city here, Aleppo. Okay. Then we have this Hama and Homs. Okay. These two areas are also there. And then we have this this sector, Dara and Damascus. Okay. So these are 5 important areas which have been captured gradually. Okay. They have captured first Aleppo area, then gradually Hama and Homs, and from this side also they were capturing the areas of Dara. Okay. So gradually only Damascus was the one area which was left under the control of Bashar al-Assad, and now Damascus has also been like overrun by the rebel forces in this area. So these are some important cities, important points which can be asked. Aleppo has already been asked. Aleppo has already been asked in the examination. When Aleppo was overrun by the rebel forces, it was asked in the examination. Okay. So Aleppo is one of the city. If you look at the location, here we have 5 countries. Tijil. Here we have 5 countries, Tijil. See, you can see Turkey is there. Here you have one country, Turkey. Okay. Then we have another country, Iraq. Then we have Jordan, Israel, and then we also have Lebanon. Okay. So 5 countries are there which are surrounding this Syria region. It also opens to this area in Mediterranean. Okay. We have already seen about this one, a small country here, Lebanon, which is here. We have seen that it has this challenge with respect to Israel. There was bombing in Lebanon. Okay. And now there is another area, Syria, which has been impacted. Now Syria is also largely in control of US. Okay. It is said that like it is in control of rebel forces, but those rebel forces have the backing of US. Okay. So that eventually goes to US only. Okay. Now, so this is one place and location of the countries plus important cities. So this becomes one of the important areas. Syria is now much more prominent than Israel. Okay. Syria has become much more prominent than Israel because now it has been taken over by the rebel forces. So there may be questions on the basis of this, either in terms of the countries which are surrounding it or in terms of the cities which are there. So Aleppo, Hama, Homs, Damascus and Dara. These 5 important locations, now all of them are under the rebel forces. Okay. So one last topic which we have, World Soil Day. Okay. So it was celebrated on 5th of December. Okay. It was celebrated on 5th of December, and this year the theme was measure, monitor and manage. Okay. 3M, measure, monitor and manage. So this was the theme of this World Soil Day on 5th of December. Okay. Now, why we are reading this? There are certain facts which was given as part of one of the editorial. So these facts are important for you in case of environment also, in case of geography also. Okay. What were those facts? First thing is, if we look at the topsoil, it takes around 1000 years to like form, and it is only having 2 to 3 centimeters in depth. Okay. And almost 95% of the food currently produced comes from it. Okay. So this is one thing. Like when you are writing the answers, and you have to tell about either the abuse of fertilizer or overuse of fertilizer or erosion or anything with respect to that, now we have something factual here which you can use. Around 95% of the food is coming from topsoils, which is continuously being eroded or degraded, and it forms in 1000 years. So from there you can show the relevance of the topsoil. So this is one of those X factors which we talk in answer writing. Okay. This is one of the fact which was there as part of the soil. Okay. Second thing is, less than 5% of Indian soils have high or sufficient nitrogen. It means 95% of the Indian soil is deficient in nitrogen. Second thing, 40% have sufficient phosphate, means 60% are lacking, and 32% have sufficient potash, means around 68% is lacking potash, and then around 80% is lacking the organic carbon. So that is an Indian soil profile for you. This is the Indian soil profile for you. So wherever you are making this notes for GS paper 3, wherever you are making notes for this GS paper 3, environment or agriculture, or like even in geography, you may be asked question from topsoil or soil at any point of time. They can have these facts. Okay. This is one part about Indian soil, that how much of it is lacking the essential nutrients. Then there is another thing, fertilizer abuse. So there were certain facts again with respect to it. Punjab is using 61% more nitrogen, means urea, than needed. 89% less potassium and 8% less potash. Okay. So that is phosphorus. So it is using 89% less potassium and 8% less phosphorus. At the same time, Telangana is overusing nitrogen by 54%. So that is also two examples of abuse of fertilizer. How much is the fertilizer subsidy? 1.88 lakh crore. That is roughly around 4% of union budget. Okay. So 4% of the union budget is going for fertilizer subsidy, the majority of which is concentrated on urea. Okay. Around 2/3 of the subsidy. 2/3 of subsidy for urea. And the majority of urea is being abused. Okay. So the relevance of this topic was only that you can have some facts for your GS paper 3. So that is one of the important article. Okay. I hope it is clear. So this was one last article for today. We have discussed 5 things. Okay. We have discussed these 5 things. First, we have seen the Indian star tortoise. We have seen about India and China. Then we have discussed growth versus emission, places in news, that is Syria, and terms in news, that is World Soil Day. Okay. I hope it is clear. Any doubt in any of the topic? Fertilizer abuse means excessive use of fertilizer. Excessive use. The one which is not required. Like you can see, in case of Punjab, if we are seeing that Punjab is using 61% more nitrogen than what is needed. So that is abuse, fertilizer abuse. Okay. Clear? Okay. So let's meet tomorrow at the same time at 5 p.m. and then we will discuss the remaining thing. Okay. Thank you so much. Take care, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.